Good evening, good evening, good evening, and happy Monday. I was going to say, I gave y'all little shout outs earlier. Now, don't expect to be getting a whole lot, but I did. And so congratulations to my hometown. Man, I know you guys are sucking this up. All of you who know what my favorite team is and who I'm actually rooting for on the inside of me for the next season. I mean, listen. But congratulations to the Philadelphia Eagles once again. You guys came, saw, conquered, demolished, annihilated, You really, really did the darn thing. And we are super, super proud of you all. So, with that, we got a lot to talk about tonight. We got a lot to talk about. How about that halftime show that everybody is going crazy over? But if you are in tune and if you are aware, if you are watching what is happening on the ground, you can appreciate what was delivered last night. It was a statement of all statements with statements and more statements. And I felt like, the word of God, he that has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit of the Lord is saying. He that can see, you saw, you don't look away, but see what you saw, hear what you heard, and feel what was being, what the intentions were, and hopefully, we'll take action and we can move from this place in such a powerful, transformative way that will, shape history. And not just for today, but for our children's children. And so I was like, yeah, get them. Yes, Lord. Like, talk to us, pump us up. Sometimes I feel like, we need heart defibrillators and we need to get our hearts pumped again and get it harder pumped again, But so we're going to talk about that tonight because it's relevant. And these are the relevant conversations that we need to have. Welcome to another episode of Terri Talks, where we talk about real people with real people and real challenges and solutions and real estate investing. This is a special edition coming from our collective. They are allowing us to do that. It is the Legacy and Wealth Builders Collective. They're allowing us to share our time with you. This is generally our mastermind time, but in light of all that is happening and in light of the things that we are seeing that are with intentionality, we also want to be intentional, and we want to make sure that we constantly get before people, because here's what I know: exposure leads to expansion. So if we can keep on exposing ourselves and keep ourselves open, listen, we can expand on levels that are not just national, right, but are directly related to our homes and to our communities and for the culture. Amen. Amen. So I have the collective fellow coach here. Sharon, you want to welcome the people and share a little bit about what we have going on before our speaker takes the stage?
Absolutely. Good evening, everybody. I hope you all can hear me well. Okay, wonderful. So, I just want to take the time to, Terri, when she comes out the gate, she's just out like a shot. So coming behind that is like, what? But, welcome to everybody this evening again to another opportunity for us to come together in the collective and to share and to edify one another and to build one another up and to learn. Terri's heart again, and our heart here for this, and our mission really is to reshape the economic future of the Black community. We've had Black Wall Street before and it was destroyed, but it doesn't mean that we can't have it again. But that starts in our individual homes, the same way it started in the individual homes of the people who lived on Black Wall Street. We are here to help you all do that, to reshape your economic futures, to provide engagement and business development, investment opportunities. If that is what you are so inclined to do, what we want to do here is connect businesses with other businesses. Gone are the days of us being consumers. Why will we just continue to just be purchasers and consumers, and it hasn't done anything to help us. It hasn't put any money in our pocket. It hasn't helped build legacy. It hasn't helped build wealth, right? We are literally somebody else's asset, and and they're our liability. So, we want to provide you all with a supportive network of like-minded individuals, right? And we are dedicated to positive change. We want to get 1% better every day. If you get 1% better every day than what you were before, really, you're exponentially increasing your capacity in that. So, we want to do that here, so that your tomorrow doesn't look like your today, so that you can leave a legacy for your children and for your children's children and your children's children. And if you teach them the right way to handle what you amass, then they will be able to pass that on to their children and their children's children. And that's how you truly create legacy here. So, we want to equip you with resources and tools to amplify your own wealth journey. And that's what we're here for tonight, as well as building meaningful relationships and doing life together, right? If you want to go fast, you can go by yourself. But, if you want to go and really get something done, the Bible says that one could put 1,000 to flight and 2, 10,000. Why not go with someone else who has the same heart, the same mind, and the same perspective as you, so that it would just help you all move along even the more. So that's pretty much what I just want to share this evening. Welcome to everybody, and just to reacclimate everyone to our mission and the perks of being here. We're here for you. So, and we're here for one another, actually.
So tell them a little bit about, because we want to build the community so that we can build like other communities build. Tell them a little bit about the promo that we're running during, and I'm changing what I label this month as, but during this month, that's a part of Black History Year. Tell them what we're doing, because again, we want to help us establish our own banking system. And there are levels to this. These are things that we need to do. And there is a tendency to want to fade to the back while things are tough. But that's not how you build. That's not how you go. In fact, you get in when it's tough, so that when the curve turns, you're already prepared and ready for the next tough time.
Exactly.
So this is not the time to shy away from digging your heels in and charting a new course for you, your family, your community, and your culture. So tell them a little bit about the promo and our guests here. So I don't even want to have anything
We want to
other further to do.
Our goals.
But share with them.
So this month we are offering a membership, in our membership drive this month. We are, for the whole month of February, it's going to be $47 for you to join the collective, and you can bring a friend, like BOGO, like buy one, get one, bring a friend. And it just kind of goes back to what I said earlier about, going together, taking someone with you, building with someone. It helps bring about accountability. It helps bring about encouragement. And it just really helps us to, I don't know if y'all remember that Prel commercial where it was like, you tell two friends and you tell two friends and so on and so on. That's how you exponentially make things happen. And so we wanted to kick that off this month by allowing new members to join the collective for $47 and for you to bring a friend. And it is, buy one, get one for the month of February. Now, next month, we'll probably be doing something different. I'm sure that the price will be increasing, but you want to get in on this now, because you want to be what we call like an early adopter. You want to get in on the ground floor before things begin to expand. And you really want to be a part of what we're doing here. You just really want to be a part of it. It's going to bless your life. So I think that's it. I'm not a salesman, and I'll play one on TV, but there you go. You're muted.
Thank you so much, Sharon. I know we're going to see you later.
Yeah.
I'm always sitting on my seat of expectation when this woman comes, just grace the presence, the environment. And I'm always expecting, because I know my cup is going to be full, and not just to be full for the sake of feeling it, but full so that it can overflow into other arenas, other environments. She is adamant about anything she teach, making it teachable for children, because that is our next generation. That's our generation, right? That's the next generation. And we need to stop talking about where they won't be and equip them for where they need to be. Come on, somebody. That's a whole word. So before she gets started, because once she dig her heels in, your head is going to be like this, like you had a tennis match. So what I'm going to tell you now, go get your pen, go get your paper, prep your heart, prep your mind, because here's what the Bible says: as a man thinketh, so is he. And I like to say, as the mind goes, the man goes. You can't go if your mind is not renewed and not shaped. And there's some conditioning that needs to happen. So I'm giving you an opportunity to go get your mind right before she dives in. Like, share. We're over in Facebook for a minute. We're going to be going over to YouTube. You can go over to the YouTube channel. It's Terri Talks Official, but we just wanted to start here and, get the conversation going. So this is Terri Talk. So let's talk. Let's talk. Let's get at it. So Sharon, if you don't mind, going into the other link, and then cool. She got it. Okay. All right. So Mrs. Holland, I just need you to know this is real raw. Okay. Like literally real raw within. I was like, okay, what am I going to talk about? Literally like the last 5 minutes it was downloaded. So listen, those are always the best. And here's the thing, right? You don't have to get ready because you stay ready. Yeah. And, and that's a principle, y'all. That's key important, right? Right now people are panicking because they haven't prepared. And so we want to shift us to being prepared. The title of this is The State of Us. Politics, economics, but the power to change conditions on the ground. And this episode is dedicated to helping us flip the script on generational cycles. There are cycles but they can be broken. And so we want to move. You need more cash? Tap in. You need to prepare for emergencies and just to have a great life, right? Like, it's not always about, emergencies. How about exploring life? The Lord said he came that we might have life and have that life more abundantly and to the full. That don't sound like I'm just supposed to make money and pay bills, right? And because money answers all things, we need money to be able to exist. But if we want to be able to improve our quality of life, there are some things that we have to reckon with and reconcile, right? In order to move us to the next level. And I'm telling you, if your heart and mind is ready, then let's talk. And I want to open this up by saying, what about that halftime show? Them statements of all statements, probably if Mr. Rob was near me, he probably was telling Kendrick Lamar, don't get her stirred up. Look, don't get him and Zoe stirred up. Yeah, because he bought it real raw. But we are in the generation. Here's what I know to be true. Everybody that is here in this season definitely raised their hand to be here in this season. And whether we know it or not, we are here to usher in a totally different earth. But in order for us to do that, like you mentioned, being prepared. And so when I think about it, you can't prepare when you don't know the roadmap. And so if you don't know the roadmap, you got to at least know, okay, where am I? Right? Because it's a self-navigation system. You can't know, where I'm going if I don't know where I am, or more importantly, if I don't know who I am. And so I think in this season, especially when it comes to our money, and life in general, we're having an identity crisis, right? And so identity profoundly impacts money, right? Because how we see ourselves dictates how we earn. It dictates how we spend. It dictates how we save. It dictates how we invest our money. And so identity isn't just about your personal characteristics, right? And so it's about my beliefs. It's about my values. It's about my upbringing. It's about my subconsciousness, right? Programming that really shapes financial behavior.
right? And so we got to know what is our identity. And if looking at identity, if I had to put, an order or numbers to it, number one would really be self-worth dictates your net worth. How do I feel about myself? I remember years ago when I first started with my very first money coach, it's almost 30 years ago now. One of the things that, she said to me when she asked me, what is your net worth? I was like, I don't know what that is. What is she talking about? Right? And I had a college degree in accounting and still didn't know, because accounting teaches you how to manage or master everybody else's money. It does not teach you about your own. And so I had to figure out, what is my identity as a woman? What is my identity as a Black woman? What is my identity as a human being here, in the earth? And I realized how much of my identity at that time was attached to the programming that I had, and it showed in my money. Right? I didn't have a net worth back then. I had a negative net worth. So I was like, look, I'm starting from the ground, the bottom. Matter of fact, I say negative because I had way more debt. My income to debt ratios were off, but I realized I had to stop and ask myself, what do I really believe about money? Right? Because identity is so important. And so how you see yourself, it really dictates even your financial habits. You see people I used to say this all the time. A low self-esteem is one of the most expensive things to finance. And, would you say, Terri?
Say that one more time for the people in the back.
Yeah. A low self-esteem is one of the most expensive things to finance. When you don't know who you are, you're pretending you drive cars you really can't afford to repair. So you calling Tyrone to come to your house, your car, instead of taking it to the dealership. Or you may buy too much house and you can't afford to do anything around the house. And so I write about a lot of this in my book. Born to Multiply. So much of how we deal with money, how we think about money, what our habits are, our identity is still rooted and grounded to an enslaved people.
Okay. All right. We can't skate over that, right? Because in this season, this is your heart, and I guess I can say I'm from your financial loins, right? We're not just here because it's another thing to do. Like, it is our heart that our people, since it's been made about our people, we have been spotlighted, right now. We are on the, we're on the main stage right now, right? And, I'm not going to talk about how we're generally on the main stage in terms of wide disparities in education and finances and housing and all of the things. But right now, our folks are going to be impacted greatly. And so, this morning I was on and I was talking about, we need to address our BS and we need to address our belief systems, our backstory, and also our blind spots. You mentioned something that I think lends itself to belief systems. What are some limiting money habits and beliefs that to be inherited?
Absolutely. Again, I talk about these things in the book, but because I want to make sure I get through all of my notes for identity. But, when we have more month than money, right? And so when your shoe collection or your purse collection is more in value than what you have in the market investing in, no matter what asset class. If I own, the collection of my shoes, all the Gucci's and all the red bottoms and all that other junk, depreciating items that we waste our money on, you have more in value in that than what you have and your money working for you in the market, whether it's the real estate market, the stock market, the commodities market, the crypto market. I don't care what asset class, the bond market, you choose cash equivalents. I don't care. Do you own more in shoes, the value of shoes, than what you own in assets? My grandfather taught me growing up, if it's on your ass, it's not an asset. So I always carried that thought, with me to make sure that I have something left over. But even that advice in 2025 doesn't work. And so in order for us to have an unlimited flow of resources, including money, we got to clean up the areas of our life that doesn't lend to abundance in all its forms. And, for me, number one of that really is identity. We waste our money on just things that become a distraction for us because we don't know who we are and who think we do. But if you're not moving when he tell you to move, do you really believe?
Well, if royalty is in our DNA, right? Black Wealth is one of our sponsors. We'll talk about that a little later. But if that's in our DNA, why do you think not enough of us is possessing it? Why do you think the numbers?
Plan programming. Absolutely. It's been planned program. It was never their intention to let us off the plantation. But from the beginning of time, it was never the intention for us to be on a plantation. And so that place is called Rashif, a place in a time of first fruit, right? I want to take the LaShawne back that was created at creation in the garden, not the LaShawne that, my mom and daddy created, whatever month they created me in, right? So when we look at that, and I think it's really important for us to learn, because now we can start to trace back our habits. As an enslaved person, we weren't allowed to have life insurance, right? It's like pulling teeth to get Black people to get life insurance now. The masters of the plantations, the owners, they got to insure the slaves, but the enslaved themselves did not have insurance. Again, it is so hard to get Black people to, just make sure you love your kids enough or love your family enough that you don't leave them crying for two reasons. You've gone on to be with Jesus and you left them broke. Right? Every generation should not be starting out from ground zero all the time.
Absolutely not.
And so we have to learn how to use these things to our benefit. Life insurance is how you give your kids a leg up. But there's so many other policies, not the ones that they try to sell you, that benefits you even while you're living. And we have to learn to do that. See, we're trying to play a game that we don't even understand the rules of the game. And the Bible is, in all you're getting, get understanding. And so we have to understand not only that the game exists, because some people don't even know the game exists. They don't even know they're in the game of money, right? But they are in the game. And so you got to know the rules of the game, and then you got to play the rules well. I can know the rules and still sit on the sideline. Well, I'm going to get the rewards of winning on the sideline. But a lot of times we don't get moving because we have identity issues. And I just believe the world, period, is in an identity crisis. And so, again, what you believe influences how you spend and where you spend. That's important. And so, if you identify as somebody who's, bad with money, then, or somebody who's not good at math, then you subconsciously avoid financial planning. You subconsciously avoid investing. You avoid taking the moves that makes more money. Money loves to multiply, and it loves to multiply quickly. It does not take a long time for you to be wealthy. It doesn't.
Amen.
And so, I think people have to go back and look at their identities, right? People who struggle with identity issues really struggle with asking for a raise on their job, right? When I did, it's been a very long time since I've worked for someone, but when I did, I never had a issue with asking for more money, the value that I carry. So I would say all the time, I don't care if they don't have enough money to give everybody on staff a raise, I am going to get one. And literally that was what I spoke all the time. And, in that job, I was getting $50,000 bonuses, which was my net, while everybody else was getting $2,000 and $3,000 bonuses. Why? I knew my identity. I knew the value that I bought. People don't understand. You don't get paid by the hour. You get paid by the value that you bring to the hour. So if you want to make more money, learn how to level up the value that you provide for people.
Do you think that's also the reason why we look at cost, and this is not everybody, but when I look at these numbers statistically and where we are as a community and as a culture, and as a community, I have to say us, right? So do you think that's part and parcel why people don't look at cost over value? So they won't invest because they're looking at cost over the value.
No, I think it's because we were programmed that way intentionally, right? And there is a difference between cost and value. When someone says, oh, that's just too expensive, you automatically cut out that creative flow. Like, God is a creator. We're creators because we were created in his image and in his likeness, which means we have the same identity. We should, and we have the same creative ability. And so we don't know that. And so I do think the programming was done intentionally. Like, we weren't programmed to know what was possible, right? And so how many people grew up in homes where you sat down at the table and talked about all the possibilities and the opportunities out there for you, right? And then was able to prepare you to go after it. And so again, if you see yourself as a wealth creator, you'll make different choices, right? Than what we've made growing up, taking risk and seeking opportunities to really multiply our money. One of the reasons why so many people are still working jobs, and I don't have anything with a job. We need to work, right? The Bible says a man don't work, don't eat. So I realize that, it's necessary for us to be able to bring in income. But, one of the reasons why people fail to see opportunities or live the level 10 life is because their money is unemployed. If your money's only mission is to go to the mall or go to Amazon, or wherever people are spending their money, instead of putting it in places that would multiply their money and bring them more, again, we tie back to identity, right? We have unemployed money. Why aren't we putting our money, or why aren't we employing our money to go out and make more money, right? It's an identity. You never see a king bowing down to anybody, right? Because he knows his place. He knows his identity. And so the same thing when we live beneath our means, right? And living beneath your means is not about just being a penny pincher, right? Beneath your means, right, really is in Deuteronomy 8:18, he says, I've given you power to go get wealth. Living beneath your means is I'm not doing anything to walk in my power. I'm not doing anything to pull that power on the outside of me. I want to stay in my nice little comfort zone where I can constantly complain about it every day. Somebody asks you who you doing, and, before you know it, you telling them all your sad stories. You said it. It is the BS, right? What is the backstory? But your backstory and your belief system is all tied to your identity.
That's right. That's right.
And so culturally and generational programming also affects your identity, right? And we don't realize it because we're not questioning the beliefs that we have around wealth and abundance and prosperity and money.
Can you give us an example?
Yeah, culturally, generationally, we deal with it. If your parents were play it safers, chances are you're going to be you're going to play it safe all the time. Why? Because that's your programming. Science has even proven by the time we are 7, the things that you have seen about money growing up shapes, your belief system, the things that you heard about money and what you experienced by the age of 7. So if you grew up in a household where all they talked about was going to get a good government job, so you could work 30 years, get a pen and retire, like that ain't appealing to me. I don't want to work 30 years for nobody, right?
It's not sustainable.
And so I just think that generationally, whereas they may have taught you just look at the transition, go to college, get a good job. College does not determine whether you live a financially secure life. I know people right now today with PhDs that are stocking shelves at CVS, right? And so generationally, that's what we were taught. And so even in this season, this new season that we are in, one of the problems a big problem that people are having is because they don't recognize that we have shifted into a different dimension than where we were. And they're still trying to make money the old way, and it is not working. It's one of the reasons why it's not enough. Because you have been upgraded to a different system, but you're trying to hold on a tether to an old system that doesn't work inside of the new system. Same thing with a laptop, right? If your operating system is out of date and you're still trying to do, new things, the system can't handle it. And so, but we don't relate these things to our money, but your financial identity really is shaped by cultural narratives. How many people see new stuff on TikTok and they running out trying to, to buy the new stuff that they saw on TikTok instead of putting that money in an asset and let the asset go out and buy whatever.
That's right.
That you saw.
An asset for every liability.
An asset for every liability. And so, again, culturally, so we have to ask ourselves, what has my culture taught me about money? And generationally, what have I learned about money? And so
Real quick, as you're going through that list, how can one raise their, I'm going to use the term frequency, because it takes a certain vibration to get to even conceptually embrace what it is
you can't even get on a higher vibration, Terri, until you deal with these issues. Until I fix my identity, my limiting beliefs, my resistance.
That's right.
My resentments and all these other things. You don't talk about that frequency because you won't get there, right? You won't know.
Yeah.
You gotta clear this stuff out. And so when we look at, if you come to look at your lineage, what did you see about money? I had to ask myself that. What did I hear growing up about money? My mom used to go off on the bill collectors that called the house. And I remember being a little girl thinking, but don't we owe them money? Like, what? Are you mad at them people? Are you mad at them people, mama? But again, that was programming for me, right? I thought everybody was struggling because it's what I grew up in a single parent household watching my mother do that. So
listen, I shared with them earlier that, same thing. I watched my mother double up on bills. And so it was like, she ain't pay this month, but I'm going to pay next month. And so when I was blessed to buy a home at 22, and I bought that home because I had been homeless, and I decided that nobody else was going to ever be able to put me out of home, I almost squandered it because I didn't know how to maintain it. I didn't see anything that taught me how to maintain a household.
Right. So our family history affects how we handle money. It affects our ability, our risk tolerance level. When we look at the people who are too afraid to do any movements in the market, chances are their parents were very conservative too, and they didn't take risks. But is that who you were created to be?
My God.
And so when we look at it, our family history and generational experiences, if you come from a lineage, where money was scarce, or you were you didn't know how to, consciously create more in your life, then guess what? If that scarcity mindset was something that was in your generation, the programming of it is with you too.
That's right.
So we got to learn to question it. What do I really believe about wealth and abundance, right? And normalize it in your mindset, right? We're supposed to be, we weren't created to struggle. What kind of loving, caring God would create us to constantly be in survival mode? Like to constantly be barely making it. Like if we honestly believe that he is a loving God, why do we believe that about ourselves? That, you're supposed to struggle. Who said that?
Who said that?
Who told us that? And so that's why I'm really talking about programming, financial trauma and, subconscious blocks also helps us form our identity. And so we got to question that too. What financial trauma did I have? Most people didn't grow up that I talked to over the past 3 decades. They didn't grow up in wealthy households. Identity is also shaped by past financial traumas. And so if you grew up where you had experiences of instability in your life, you don't know what it is to have stable finances. So even if your desire innately is to have a more financially secure life, subconsciously, because you haven't dealt with this identity, your financial habits doesn't lend to abundance. It lends to scarcity. Why? I spend everything I have. I don't have anything left over. When we look at the statistics of how many people could even handle, $1,000 emergency right now, that's pretty scary. I know medical doctors who could not afford to pay $500 to come to a program. So, people again tend to attach their identities to what they do, but you weren't created just for your job that you do. Right. And so your financial identity shouldn't be just limited by that job, because we serve an unlimited God. But, when we look at that, are your finances limited? And if so, why?
Well,
right? We get to this. I didn't have time to feel sorry for myself when I realized all those years ago that I had a negative net worth. In fact, I bust out laughing, to be honest. I remember the day I calculated, I was like, this is hilarious. But it did not take me long to reach 7 figures after that. Why? Because I realized my navigation, right? You are your financial compass. Where am I? And what do I have to do to change? So I realized it was what I grew up knowing about money that was keeping me stuck.
And if we're not careful, we become settled in it. And
Right.
then it just keeps, it goes from generation to generation because we basically accepted it. Even today, hearing you talk about these things, I pray that, the folks are thinking what action do I take to get out of this space? Because this is not who I was created to be. So I shouldn't live here. And, even people, you can be in deception. You got people like you were speaking of who, their job by right says that they make a lot of money, but then they're broke. They're broke. And so, they're deceiving themselves. They're keeping up with the title, right? But, we always talk about this. We don't want to just look good. We want to be good, and that looks different for everyone, but we all should be climbing to financial stability so that we can get financial wealth. You said this earlier, people are trying to play the game, but they don't know the rules of the game. It's easy to jump into some investment, vehicles, but do you really truly know the rules of it so that you won't find yourself being a poor investor, right? I know people right now and I'll say this and I'm sorry and let you hit it, that are landlords, but they have vacancies. So are you really cash flowing? You have this asset, but it's draining you because you also have a hard money loan and you didn't compensate for that because you didn't prioritize liquidity. And so now there's a struggle.
But that goes back to not knowing the game. You really
not knowing the game.
You think you know. And so identity, when you look at that and your spending patterns, it affects that. Yes. Right. And so, yes. Many people spend money based on who they believe they are or who they want to be. Right. But it's why, you look at brands, market lifestyle. Right. Because people make purchases here, not here. And oftentimes we see the purchases that we make through lack. That's what marketing on TV is about. All ads tell you what you don't have. If you think about it, your life will be better if you were driving this car. So what is the image that they show you? That it's a couple, they dress to the hill from head to toe. They getting in, boop, boop. You hear the beep of their luxury car. Then the inside of the car comes up and you see the screen that rises. The angels come down and they singing glory. Like all of
singing glory.
Look, it's because they're trying to get you to buy into a lifestyle. So it's always, pointing out what we're not. You want to lose weight and they even glorify diabetic medication, singing and dancing, doing the 2-step routine.
You don't
be about diabetes, but they are programming you to be comfortable with it, right? Yeah. To be comfortable with lack, you don't see them doing healing commercials.
Things that make you go,
Right. And so if your identity is tied to success and status, you may overspend on luxury items to maintain a certain image, right? You just said it is, we are so good at looking good instead of being good. It is the being part where abundance and wealth flows to. And so if you identify as always being a struggle, like identity is so important. Terri, I remember, when I first came out of surgery, one of the first things for the listeners who don't know, I was diagnosed a while back. I'm cancer free today, but I was diagnosed with breast cancer. One of the things when I came out that I first, really realized waking up was how much of who I am spills over into every part of my life.
Yeah.
So if there's lack in one area, we got to make sure that we're not picking up the identity of, somebody else close to us that we don't want, right? Immediately the Lord spoke to me and says, you are not a cancer survivor. Do not on that identity. You are a cancer overcomer, someone who is attacked by an enemy and they rise up and they strike the enemy and they kill the enemy and they become the victor. Right.
Yes.
And being called a survivor, I don't care if it's, surviving something financially or whatever, being called a survivor diminishes who God has called us to be. It puts you in a place of victimhood instead of being a victor. Right. And so we have to be very careful, again, with our identities in this season. Who are you? Just because the world may be going through a recession doesn't mean you have to.
That's right. We don't participate. We don't get an agreement with
we
that.
are called to change recessions, not participate in recession, right? I can't help change the recession if I don't know who I am. And so that's just really important. So the shift from, a lot of times we carry on this survival mantle, and it's not a mantle that we were meant to carry. Like, give it back to the sender. Well, right? Give me the mantle for abundance. And so identity shifts really do require you to move from financial struggle, to financial mastery, financial survival to financial mastery. And you only get to masteries when you learn the rules of the game, and then you play the game well. Right.
Play the game well.
You may know the rules, but you never get in the game, right? God doesn't need to give you step 5, 6, and 7 if you haven't done step 1, 2, and 3. It'll be a waste. You ain't doing what you have.
And we talked about this last week. He called that servant evil and wicked.
Evil and wicked, and sent them to outer darkness is what he did. Now, if you find with this wicked darkness, then more power to you, right? But
and so that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was like, but that's not mean. It doesn't have to be you. And so when we look at identity, and all you have to do is look at your financial blueprint to really determine, what do you really believe?
Okay. So tell us just, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to take a break for our sponsor. We have to recognize our sponsor for today. And then we're going to shift from consumerism to ownership. But what would be just a few things, 1 or 2 things that someone could help build their blueprint? Like, or what should they be looking for in order for them to go to mastery?
Yeah. One of the first things that I would tell people to do all the time is you have to sit down and know what your current financial blueprint is. And so you got to ask yourself, growing up, what did I see about money growing up? Right. And then you write down everything that you saw growing up from your caregivers, the people that influence you the most. Right. And so you look at, okay, once I write down, what did I see? What did I hear next about money? For me, it was always, what you think money grow on trees? I hated that statement because actually it does. But I got a black mama, so I for sure I have all my teeth today because I chose what to say and what not to say. But looking at, what did you see? What did you hear? What did you experience? And when I looked at all the things that I wrote down, they were all anti-abundance, right? It wasn't things that would lead me to the path that I needed to be on. And so I had to make a new decision. I'm not going to live my life in scarcity and lack, right? Abundance flows to me unhindered and freely. And so I had to start telling myself a different story, right? And telling it often enough until where I started to believe the story. And once I started to believe the story, when you believe something different, you think something different. When you think something different, you feel something different. When you feel something different, you act differently. And based off of the acts that you take will get you the results that you want or you don't want. And so we always go, if your money is funny, you got to go back to your believer first. And so oftentimes, especially, today's money mentors or whatever people call themselves, they start at the wrong starting point. And so people get discouraged when they don't see movement. And the Bible says, when you defer something, what happens? It
makes your heart sick.
Right. So people lose hope. They don't want to try anymore. That I did that. That didn't work. What happens if the timing was wrong or you didn't have, all of the instructions to the game? And so we have to look at that, and that's important, is knowing where is your financial compass now. And then you are your own financial thermostat. Are you even willing to move the temperature, right? I don't change the temperature in a room by going outside doing something. I got to go to the thermostat in the room to change the temperature. So it's not the outside forces that's going to help you win this game of money. It's what's in here. But the problem is we don't know what's in here, right? It's an identity issue. And so I would say, where is your financial set point? Right? Where's your thermostat right now? What's your beliefs? What do you truly, honestly believe about money? Do you even believe it's possible for wealth? Who are you? Do you really know?
Do you really know? That's a great call to action. And I thought about what you just said and the scripture that says it's not what's outside that defiles a man, but it's what's inside that defiles a man. And even if you think that you like, I'm good. I'm not struggling, but why settle for good when better and best is available, right? Especially for the lifestyles that we want, we want these lifestyles, but what we have, what we actually possess are not on par with those lifestyles. And I don't believe that there's nothing wrong with desiring those lifestyles. I mean, you said it earlier. We serve a God that creates, and we are to co-create. And so, things that we don't even see, right, we can create and bring to life, right? And because the Bible tells us that money answers all things, it's okay. In fact, he wants us, there's no way he's going to say something like he gives us the power to get wealth. If it wasn't attainable, then why is this big old God, this endless God giving me all of this power? Right. Like that wouldn't make sense. I want, us to just remember that. And I want you to think about that as you're doing this work, and looking and assessing some things in your life as our coach gave us today. Think about that. It's not what's outside. And so it's not, I can't because, they're not giving me a raise, or I can't because they keep asking me for money, or I can't because, and for those of you who may have been like me, I was making money, but it was like coming in and out of my hands, right? That's an internal problem, right? If you got holes in your pocket, you got to look within. So with that, before we jump to the next conversation, we just want to take a break for our sponsor. And our sponsor for today's episode is Black Wealth. And I want the queen of Black Wealth to tell us about Black Wealth.
So Black Wealth actually is a vision-driven apparel brand that really was started and cultivated. The idea that came from my son and I discussing about 2 books that we were reading, and we wanted to give our culture a reminder of what's possible. And so it is possible. A lot of times I've had people say, well, I'm not sure if I want to buy the shirt because I feel like a hypocrite because I'm not wealthy, but it was something that you can put in your eye gate. That's really the premise behind Black Wealth. We wanted to put possibilities inside of there as a reminder, their eye gate, to see, okay, that is possible for me. It's who we are. It's not just about money. Wealth is more than money. It's about relationships. Right? It's about legacies. People think, I hear this often, I want to leave a legacy. No, you don't. Right? Because if you wanted to really leave a legacy, you would be moving. You would be doing something. Legacy has nothing to do with I'm leaving behind money. Right? Legacy is, we look at Martin Luther King Jr. He left a legacy. Why? Because impact. We look at Malcolm X, or we look at Fred, or we look at Medgar Evers, anybody in history that we're still talking about today, Mother Teresa. It was because she had impact. Impact is legacy.
That's right.
But if you make enough impact, we get to have income too. But income is not legacy. Impact is legacy. And so that's really what Black Wealth is. It's a reminder of what is possible for us in our culture. It's about having rich health. Right? Because health really is the truth.
That's right.
If you have all the money in the world and you don't have your health, it means nothing.
Yeah, because how are you spending it? How are you enjoying the fruits of your labor? You aren't. And this is a statement apparel for me. It is who I am. It's what I will attain and what I am attaining or have already attained. And this is what, I will continue to promote, because I think it also helps us walk into an identity that was already established for us, right? And to your point, exposure leads to expansion. And so I thank you all for being our sponsors today. And we put the link in the chat. So you should go over, listen, let's wear it. Let's be it. Let's celebrate it.
Especially in this season, because whether people want to admit it or not, we are under attack. We are. What the new changes that are going on is to financially cripple us. It is. And so however you choose to fight back, whatever energy source you need, tap into that. And, for me, Black Wealth is that. knowing who I am, where I came from, and what's possible for me, it does give me not only the motivation, but it allows me to be committed to this cause.
Yeah. And it's you walk with a sense of pride. I mean, this is my uniform. And this season, there's just some things that I'm leaning into in this season. And if there are things that come into the environment that don't promote it or don't enhance it for me, it's just not serving me. I gotta go. Right. But I know I walk in spaces and I feel like the sky is the limit. It is constantly sending a signal to my brain that this is who you are. This is what you deserve. This is what's available to you. And it's not just a one-time thing. This is legacy.
Absolutely.
It is legacy. So
just impact.
They asked if the link could be dropped in the chat. Because they are our sponsors today, they're giving us 10% off if you use the link that is up in this chat. But go, and let's, rear it with pride. I was so proud to see that what occurred at the halftime show yesterday, because that was more about y'all. Like, this is a clarion call. And for me, I don't know what his religious beliefs are, but I believe that he was discerning the times and he knew exactly what to do. And it's so unfortunate that, some of us as believers, we're not discerning the times. And to your point, nothing just happens. Faith without works is dead. We have to get moving, whatever that looks like for you. And you want to get in communities that can help gird you up and build you up. So if you're like, I don't have a starting point. Okay, here's the great part about it. There's nothing new under the sun, right? You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You have evidence. One of the things, I was trying to get you to talk about liberated soul, because we got a link for that. And because it's important, there's no way you can really walk in the liberty and freedom, financial freedom and independence, passive and residual income, legacy and generational wealth, if we're not dealing with matters of the heart and the soul.
Right.
And so, I'm going to talk about that forever, right? That you have to really, I know for a fact I've seen increase in my life exponentially because of the work that I have positioned myself to do,
right,
and constantly do. This has become a lifestyle. So I want to tap into communities that can help move the needle and help move you, that everybody's not sitting on the sideline suffering from analysis paralysis. That's what you were referencing earlier. Ain't nobody got time for that. Right? We gotta move. Go ahead. You want to weigh in?
Yeah, no, we do. We have to move. And so, you asked me a question of what are some of the things that they can do. And one of the things is really to identify your current money identity. Right. And so I think it's important I don't want to use the word transformational because it's so overused right now. I believe in transcendence because I believe that's what God is calling us to do. The Bible says from glory to glory. And so for us, before transcendence can happen or transformation can happen, you got to recognize what's currently shaping your identity. Right? Is it culture? Is it past bad programming? And then, what beliefs about money did you inherit from your family that's not necessarily true? Like, what did I inherit from my family? Money is hard to make. If you heard that often growing up, or rich people are greedy, because that's another one that I hear often. But how do you define yourself in relation to money? Are you a consumer? Are you a producer? Are you a builder? Are you a banker? Like, how would you define yourself in the area of money? Would you say you're a bad money manager? Right? And then what financial patterns keep repeating in your life? If you get a windfall, somebody gives you money and, 60 days from now, you don't remember what happened to the money, and then say something else happens again, you get a tax return. Right? And then 60 more days later, you don't know where that went. That's a pattern, right? And if you have enough patterns in your life to happen like that, it becomes culture.
Yeah.
And so you got to ask yourself, what financial patterns keep repeating in your life? Overspending. Is that a pattern that keeps repeating in your life? Under earning. Is that a pattern that keeps repeating?
Under earning.
Right. Under earning. Avoiding investing. That is a pattern in your life. Like if you've gone to conferences and they made offers for you to help you, move forward in life and you choose not to do it, that's a pattern. Right? If you're choosing over and I know people that tell me all the time, one day I'm coming. Like, ma'am, it's been 15 years. You're not going nowhere.
And neither is your money.
Right. You like being stuck. So we got to identify what habits drive me financially, right? If you see yourself as a struggler or just getting by, then opportunities are going to keep coming for you to just get by. Right? And so we got to identify what is our financial identity. That's important. Yeah. Go ahead.
That's good. That's good. Well, here is an identity that I think we've adopted, and we kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier as we're, jumping into our next, topic for today is consumerism. And, the statistics show that we are the top consumers in the world. It's like 90%, 6%. Or something like that. And we're not owners. Can you speak to that a little bit? I know we talked a little bit earlier about how it stemmed from slavery and all of that. But as you're talking about, this blueprint and things that we learned as early as our own parents and our grandparents, can you talk a little bit about that? Why are we more given and comfortable with being consumers, and what can we do to unpack that systemic complexity? Because that's what I feel like it is.
To be honest, is because no one has ever taught us that we're not. Like, I didn't grow up in households talking about consumers, producers, builders, bankers. Like, it becomes a far off concept for most people. Like a producer, what is that? Music producer? Like Quincy Jones?
What's coming?
Yeah, what kind of producer are you talking about? But I think understanding, if I go back to some of the simplest teachings that I raised my kids on, I remember them being in elementary school and me waking them up on Saturday mornings in my office to learn about money, investing, and business. And one of the first things is learning the difference between an asset and a liability. So if I figure out what my, money identity is, and I know I don't want to be a consumer all my life. A consumer just consumes. They don't produce anything of value. They just buying everything that every other producer's producer. They're consuming it. They're buying it. And so assets put food on the table. Liabilities take food off the table, right? That is just in its simplest terms. And so once I figure out what my real identity is and I make a decision, a new empowering decision that I don't want to be a consumer only, I really want to be a banker, right? Then what steps do I need to take? And so producers produce services or goods that the consumer can buy, right? And so we talked about it on the last training that there are 3 people in every room, a consumer, a producer, and a banker. And so I believe, when the word says that you shall lend to many nations and not borrow, then his original intent was never for us to be just consumers, not even just producers, but to be a lender, a banker. Why? Because whoever writes the check controls the flow.
For the people in the back, ma'am.
Whoever writes the check controls the flow. And so if we want to change what's going on in our government, then get your coins up. If we want to change what's going on in the educational system, then get your coins up. If you want to change what's going on in the healthcare system, why? Because the Bible says no one listens to a poor man in Ecclesiastes, though he may have the wisdom of all. And so no matter how bad we want something to change, even if we look at in this climate, this political climate, they're not listening to poor people. But we who's caught in the middle have to stop complaining about the wealthy people that's making decisions at the top. Why? Because money has a language and abundance is not attracted to anything negative. So while you are complaining about wealthy people, you are repelling the wealth to come to you. Why would abundance and wealth and prosperity want to come to you when you're talking so badly about the wealthy people that's making decisions now, right? And so I want to illuminate that and bring this to the awareness. We may not agree, but watch what you're saying and just work on getting your coins up so you can be the person that's now making the decision.
And I believe that, that kind of talk keeps you in consumer culture.
Absolutely, it does 100%. If you don't think this works, you look at the only reason people call it the Oprah effect now is because she had money. If she was still a little black girl that grew up in Mississippi or Alabama or wherever she grew up, right down south, and still didn't have anybody listening to Oprah. Ain't nobody running out buying nothing just because you get right. Buy nothing, right? And so we got to stop complaining and work on getting your coins up. What talents, what abilities, what gifts do you have that you were meant to share with the world? And people think Mother Teresa was broke. Mother Teresa was not broke, right? She died with 7 figures. So she was not broke at all, So what she had though was impact. Money follows your purpose. And so
Amen.
You never spend time in figuring out who you are. Like, who are you? Why are you even here? Your prosperity is attached to that. So if we don't take the time to really sit down and discover that, we're just going around in circles.
So, you're kind of hitting it was going to be my next question. So how can we help people shift from consumer to owner?
When you look at educating yourself, it's important. Why? Because there's scammers on every corner. And if you don't know what to do with your money, they do. And chances are it's not going to be to benefit you. It's going to be to benefit them. And so, you gotta, once I know what my money story is, my financial identity is, you gotta reshape, rewrite, rewire that money story, right? You weren't here just to be a consumer. So what does rewriting looks like? I'm a producer. I'm a banker, right? Rewriting the story, instead of constantly saying, I don't understand, I'm bad with money. No, you're excellent with money. You know what to do at all times in any situation with your money. Change, rewire how you believe about money, right?
And I think that's a nice plug for you to give them 2 affirmations, because I know you got some money affirmations for days.
Money flows to me easily and often. It's one of the things that I say every day, all the time, every day in every way. I'm getting stronger and stronger where my money is concerned every day in every way. I ride my bike and I repeat that to myself every day in every way. I'm getting stronger and stronger with my money every day in every way. Money follows me. Make a beat out of it. I see people online. Money comes to me easy. Money comes to me often. And I'm like, and they be getting down in it too. Why? Now you on the treadmill. Money comes to me easy. Money comes to me
often. Money comes to me easy. Then you can even put some little shoulder in it. Money comes to me.
I'm brushing my teeth and I'm getting but we gotta put it in our affirmations, even, once we make new empowering decisions. How often are you getting it in your eye gate? How often are you getting it in your ear gate? I don't care if you have to record that affirmation on your phone and play it all the time to yourself. Money comes to me easy. Money comes to me.
Money comes to me.
Money comes
to me easy. Money comes to me often.
They gonna say, what you get out of tonight? They gonna be like,
money comes to me easy.
Money
comes to me often. Like, let's go.
But again, and then expand your money zones, right? And so start putting something different in your eye gate. Start putting something different in your ear gate. Listening to podcasts that will help you up level, your financial blueprint. And so it's getting in environments like this, it's reading, it's listening to podcasts, it's asking questions, right? So oftentimes we don't get what we want because we don't know what we want. Get clear on what kind of life do you really want?
My God.
What does it look like? Abundance has a scent to it. What does it smell like? When you go into luxury hotels, you notice they all have a scent to them. You go into the La Quinta Inn, you say, I need to stop calling them out.
And then you're just bringing us all the smoke, like,
And so money has a feel to it. Do you even know what it feels like? So we say we want it, but we don't create the space. We don't create the capacity to really learn it. What does it look like to have money love you? What does it look like to have money love you? What does it feel like? And take time really, meditating and feel it. What does it feel like to have no financial worries whatsoever?
My God. My God.
What does that feel like? What would you do the day that hit you? You reached your financial goal. What does that feel like? And so we don't create the space in our lives to really meditate on this, to think about this, right? We spend so much time putting a life that we don't want in our eye gate that we negate the dream to fill our eye gate up with the things that we really do want. Wealthy people eat differently. So what are some of the foods? They not sitting up giving their kids now and laters and Baby Ruth, feeding them rats on a stick with them corn dogs. And I'm laughing, y'all. My kids, they were the minorities at their school. And I found out my daughter in the 3rd grade was going to school, giving all them country club kids ho-hos and, oh my God, sent her back. She was grading her food for the sushi and, the veggie rolls. Country club moms find out what you giving their kids. They will come after me with grabbers. I didn't know that long
Bows and arrows.
right. But all around, if this is what your plan is, then how do they eat? They're very health conscious about what they put in their body, what they put on their body, how they treat their bodies, right? They're not just clogging up their arteries with Vaseline.
Listen, we're laughing, but this is like the brutal, honest, hard truth about.
And I'm not anti-Black, I promise you.
Listen,
People, but they don't understand about how much of the cultural programming that we have had, how it holds us back. Because whether you know it or not, what you eat affects your mood. It affects your feelings. It affects, your thinking. It affects your dreaming, your ability to dream. Half of you can't dream because you're eating too many Twinkies. You're eating all this food. You eating all this food that's calcified, your glands that help you dream. And then you're like, well, I don't have a dream. God ain't gave me no dream. No, you just ate too many Twinkies that covered up the dream machine. That's what happened.
The dream machine is clogged by Snickers and Twizzlers and.
Right. And so that's important. So to recap for anything, it would be to figure out what is my identity around money. Right. And then what I need to do to rewire it. Right. And then being able to really expand it. How do I expand what I really believe about money? Right.
Yeah.
I said you had to buy anything, but go into stores that wealthy people shop at and walk around and look.
Yeah. And so we want to, another thing that you mentioned earlier was about, okay, you're a 9-to-5, that's where you are. But we talked about this last time. One income is too close to none. And so you want to position yourself to have several streams of income just in case. I was thinking about a few things with this consumer and owner thing. A consumer has to take whatever somebody gives them, right? Like we are consuming things, but really they're saying, here's what I think you should have, right? Versus you being in a place of ownership and you can create what you actually want. We have gifts and talents. The Bible tells us to put them to the exchange, and we're able to multiply. Some people don't kind of conceptualize that, but we're supposed to have everything we need pertaining to life and godliness. Where's that going to come from? That comes from the system of exchange between us as human beings. And we get to monetize off of that, right? We get to increase our income on that. So, share a little bit about how what are some things that we can do to move? And I get it. Everybody may not be a business owner, or be able to run a business, but I do believe everyone should own a business, right?
And I don't care what it is. We make that so hard. Like we have a client now who, is a business owner. He had money set aside. And so we had another client who was looking to scale and expand and was looking for investors. And so, we got a contract together. We helped him put a contract together. We merged the two together. So he had the money to lend. He needed the money to scale. And so he loaned him the money in terms in a legal document, that we put a contract together for him with installment payments, how he was going to get his money paid back at what interest and all of that. And so literally over a 90-day period, he was able to make 40% on his money and he didn't do anything for it, right? He hit one button to transfer the money to the man, right? And then that was it. And so did he have to deal with branding and marketing and client enrollment? And he didn't have to do any of that, right? And so, but did he multiply his money? Yes, he did. He did.
You
don't necessarily have to run a business to be able to invest your money and multiply your money. There are plenty of ways out here for me to do it, right? I just have to find out what is the way that I enjoy the most.
Amen. And what does that look like for you, for your family, based on your financial goals? So we've created a community called The Collective, which will help, encourage, support, and promote business ownership so that we can have something in the till, so that we can invest, pool our resources together and be able to invest in, roads and all of the things. I love the fact that, we're now shifting from just residential and commercial, but we're shifting to, roads. And so when we talk about legacy, how about your children to be like, that's the road my mother created. That's the road
I go to the road that's named after my ancestors all the time and I ground there. Because the owners don't know it. I'm taking it back.
I know that's right. Come through with it. Come through.
I feel like they stole that land from my ancestors because they sold, my ancestors sold it at such a dirt cheap price. I'm taking it back.
That's right.
So they think, oh, she's so cute. She walking around. No, I am walking and I am declaring that this land is going to get back into my possession.
Listen, the Lord told Joshua, wherever the soles of your feet should tread upon, that's the land you shall possess. So absolutely. I am getting in agreement and alignment with you that when you go, because your feet, the soles of your feet have touched that's coming back to your house.
Absolutely. The name is still, my family's name is still, Marshall's Corner. The same corner that my great-great-grandfather named. And so I just needed to come back to the hands of a Marshall.
I know. Listen, it's coming back.
Absolutely.
In fact, we're calling that land in.
Absolutely.
So, again, it's hard to be, sit under these podcasts and, and read these books. But then you go into environments that don't encourage, don't inspire it, don't enhance it, don't promote it. It's like, you have stepchildren, they come to your house one day and they're learning all of these things. And then they go back home and I was one of those. I would go back to the hood and act a crazy fool. And then I would come to my dad and my stepmom and they talk about Christianity and be, at peace. And I'm like, I've been riled up all week. What you talking about? Like, how do you go peace? No, all I know is chaos, confusion. Get out of here, right? And so that's why it's important in this season to also, lean into communities. That's why Hannah mentioned, the Liberated Soul Collective. And now we have the Legacy and Wealth Builders Collective for you to actually start putting your money in motion or start learning how to get to a position to put your money in motion, right? And then two are better than one. And so if you do fall, right, you have someone there to pick you up. And the fall is not as intense. And so I'm just sharing that because, again, nothing just happens. You have to be able to position yourself in this season to get the things that you want. And as she mentioned, what is it that you want? People always, come to me for real estate investing, and I love it. That's my sweet spot. I can, do it with my eyes closed. But they get kind of put off when I'm asking, well, what are your financial goals? Because here's the thing, and you mentioned it earlier, your money need a job, right? It needs to, and we're answering something. So if you are, want to invest, right? How do you know if you're hitting your marks? How do you know, what you should be going after? I don't have my clients go after every strategy that real estate investing offers because it may not allow them to hit their target in the amount of time they need to hit their target. But if you have no goals, you have no purpose, you have no destination, then you're just out here spending money, and that's wasteful. All that to say, you make sure you don't just take this information and stockpile it.
Right.
Oh, it was good. We be in church 3 times a day, and it's like, well, what did the preacher say?
Right.
I don't know, but it was good.
Right.
Right. No, this is not just a feel good moment. And the season calls for us to level up in these areas where we're going to find ourselves being the unprepared and being plummeted.
Absolutely.
But we get an opportunity to stand in a position of authority first in our individual lives,
right,
then in our families, right? And then in our communities and for the culture. So you want to tap in. So with that, Coach, is there anything that you want to leave the good folks with? Anything that you missed in your notes that you definitely want to make sure that they have before we get out of here tonight?
I do. I wanted to talk about how important it is to practice what I call abundance behaviors, right?
Mm-hmm.
Practice it out in the story I have with this. I'll never forget. My kids were up for an award when they had their business, and we were at an event. It was at a 5-star hotel. The event was put on by Ernst & Young, and one of the young men that was sitting at the table with us didn't even know how to eat. It was a full setting. He didn't even know which fork to pick up. They had 3 forks. He's like, I don't know. He whispered in my ear, which fork do I use? So I told him, because you talked about preparation, I had already taught my kids, when you go out to fine dining, this is, you use the fork that's closest to the inside of the plate and work your way out. And I had taught them that. So I told the young man, don't worry, just follow my son next to you. And he was able to do it. That's how powerful being inside of communities are. You get to practice abundant behaviors. And so that's very important. If you're planning to be in, a certain wealth status or whatever, know how they operate. Right. And so, cause if you get in those environments and you mess up, you won't get invited back. I've seen it happen before. I would tell this story, but I'm not. I'll save that next time, another time. But, practice abundance behaviors. And if you don't know what that look like, Google it. You Google everything else. So I can start, because it's not learning. Terri, stop laughing. It's not learning for learning's sake. It's how can I apply this to my life?
Yes.
So it's important, not just that you find out about it. Oh yeah, I heard that before, but no, did you apply it to your life? Yep. And so I think these steps are very, very important, for us to take. You got to align your actions, what it is that you say you want. You gotta align.
Yeah. I mean, it's so disheartening to hear just, some of the things that are happening on the national stage and some of the things that they are destroying and dismantling. And, it makes my heart sad to hear that, some people won't have jobs, and that as a result of them not having that job, it's going to affect how they eat, where they live. It's just.
But can I give you another option?
Mm-hmm. That's what we talk about.
So that may be true, but let's focus on what we want to create. If we want
exactly
a business that employs the people that are losing their jobs to get promotions. So
that's where I was going.
Know of what's happening, but how can we shift or add our part to this collective of what's going on to make it better? So we can't always look at change as being detrimental, because this is going to happen whether we like it or not, right?
Yes.
And so it may not be a bad thing. What happens if after these next several years, something amazing was created during this time?
It's opportunity. It's an opportunity.
And so that's really what I think we should focus on, not on all the negative stuff, because that's just a distraction. And if distracted long enough, I can't create.
That's right.
It's really a trap for us. And so you cannot be distracted, because the things that we know about has nothing to do with the things that he's doing that we don't know about.
Exactly.
Right? And that's why we got to stay tuned in, because when we tuned in, the things that, everything is being forged by fire now, everything. And I believe that only truth will remain. And so all of this stuff is coming to light now. Why is it coming to light? For the person who knows and can recognize, hey, this is the opportunity for me to change, moving forward. And so what are you really adding to the collective? Are you reinforcing everything that's going on by constantly talking about it? Or are you getting together with your tribe and you're like, hey, let's create the world that we really want to be in? Right.
And that's where I was going. I was going with, while I initially felt that, I thought, no, this is an opportunity to prosper, right? And to create opportunity, to see an opportunity to create opportunities. So all of those folks that may be unemployed, what do you have available? What role position can you create or need in your business where you're the net for them?
Yeah.
Right. And then we elevate.
Or teach them how to go get their own net. Right? This has so many opportunities in this season, but again, you have to raise your head high enough to see the opportunity. And so, and take on, something may happen that we deem to be negative to us, but if you can, if at all possible, find the silver lining in it. God, what are you trying to teach me in this moment? Because I don't want to learn this lesson again.
That's right.
So I need to get it and move on so I can go to the next. But we really discount how powerful we are, but it goes back to identity. You don't know who you are, so you can't tell how powerful you are if you don't know who you are, right? And so I would say, until we meet again, really concentrate on who are you? What do you really want? Because that your identity really is important in this season.
Yeah, and if that's too abstract for you, you get in communities that can help you work that out, right? Because I found that, again, in these communities, it's things that you haven't even thought of because you haven't been exposed to it, right? And they're, mentioning money have a language. Everything has a language. Football has a language. Basketball has a language. Everything has a language. And so you may have a hard word find. You may not be able to.
Language. Plants have a don't notice, but if you notice birds chirp in the morning, do you hear them chirping at midnight? You don't, because they're in nature. Their assignment is to wake up the plant life. That's why birds chirp early in the morning and not at midnight. You don't hear birds 6, 7, 8 o'clock in the afternoon, in the evening chirping.
They sleep.
Life has done what it was supposed to do for that day. And you're right, they going off somewhere minding their own business until their next assignment the next morning. And
That's right.
We are the only ones, we were created, to dominate nature, but we don't focus on, hey, how does nature operate? Because they operate without chaos, right? Mm-hmm. And the chaos that we see with nature now is because we've messed it up. And they're like, we tired of you burning down our forest.
Y'all fools. I believe it all has a way to supply us, right?
Absolutely.
And so, we're eating our wealth, right? We killing off our sustenance and plant life and all of those things. And so, we wanted to come tonight to help you flip the script. While we know where we've come from and what, has lent itself even to this very present moment based on generational cycles. And maybe our parents didn't know who they were, so they couldn't nurture and teach us how to find who we are, right? But we get to flip the script. We can flip the script in this moment because it really is an opportunity to level up in so many ways. And so we don't come with doom and gloom, but we need to know the state of us. You cannot change. I'm learning anything that we don't change. You're choosing to have it be. That's what you now chose. But if you don't know, you can't change it. And so we want to make sure you're in a position to change it by understanding what's at play. You might be thinking to yourself, like, I be trying to, every time I go to try to do something or make a move or I try to go invest, something is always pulling me back or something is always happening, right? That doesn't allow me to get to it. Well, all what we went through today and what was shared today was to help bring that to light so you can understand what's happening and then you can move from that place. Right. We have the power to change the conditions on the ground. I believe we are the most resilient and resourceful people on this earth, but we have to keep our heads high enough, as our coach tells us. We have to be able to see opportunities. We have to watch as well as pray, right? Watch what's not being shown, listen to what's not being said, right? This is how we enter into this place of preparation and preparedness, right? And you get into these communities, you tap into these places so that it's not just what you learn, but you're able to teach, your circle. Right. I'm of the persuasion, if the circle is not there, I'm going to create it. And then everybody who was in the circle that I really love, I got to bring them on board because this is what type time we on. This is what we doing. I'm in my winning season. I can't afford to be around people who, it's like nothing ever works out for me or I never win anything. No, right? So listen, we want you to move with a sense of urgency, but a sense of confidence because you have that understanding and you can move from that place. So with that, this is Terri Talks, another episode of Terri Talks. We're so glad that you joined us today. We're so grateful for our powerhouse that's in the room. Again, I don't know about y'all, but this was beyond a mastermind. This, you hear about masterminds, but this was a true mastermind, right? And it's to master your mind to move. And then when you move, your money will move, right? And it's just this, this contingent plan that, this contingent flow that can happen, and you set that to happen. So you can find us. We want you to like and subscribe. We're going to be back for part 3 of this conversation. So I'm telling you now, set your notifications, go get on. Right now we've been on Facebook, just to give people an opportunity to tap in. Next week, we're going straight to YouTube. So you need to get over to Terri Talks Official, like, share, subscribe. We asked if you had any questions. I didn't see any, but put them in the chat and we'll get to them for next time. We'll open up with those questions. So listen, if you heard something today and, or go, listen to it tomorrow, and you should be generating questions in this hour. You should be asking,
be intentional.
Knocking, be intentional, ask some questions, right? See, what do I do? How do I do it? Where do I need to be? Who do I need to be connected to? Do you have a resource? That's what community is about. And so, but you have to do it. I can't do it. I can't do it for you. Although we want it for you, you have to do it. And so you can find us over there. You can also find us at builttolast.com. Or if you're looking to invest in real estate, or if you're looking to get in any one of these communities that we mentioned today, if you I don't even know where to begin, or, you just need an exploration call, tap in. We have the newsletter sign up so that you can stay informed, stay educated, but not just the stockpile, but so you can be educated to execute. And so that's where you can find us, and you need to be here next week, and you need to invite somebody, because again, in order for us to, have this continuous learning and a perpetual cycles of it, we all need to be in the room, right? You know, you got to get in the room where it is happening and
reach one.
Each one, reach one. And so you're going to have the final word, Coach. Tell them where they can find you. And who you are.
So I'm actually on the major platforms. I'm on Lord have mercy, Facebook as LaShawne Holland financial coach. I am on Instagram. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Threads, everything, YouTube, simply as LaShawne Holland. It is a E at the end of my name. If you would like my book, Born to Multiply, it's free. LaShawneHolland.com/book. And you can get the book there for free. So I'm excited about this third one that's coming up too.
It pays to show up. Now you done got a free book.
Right.
We put the links in the chat. So we made it easy for you. I put a free ebook, a 90-day how to build your finances, right? Which that'll go away. But you get points for showing up, right? But you get results by doing the work.
Absolutely. Oh, that's good. That's a writer downer, y'all.
That's a writer downer. Okay. Amen, Walls. So I'm going to repeat it. You get points for showing up,
right?
But you get results when you do the work. So with that, this is Terri Talks, another episode. Thank you for joining us. We're going to continue the conversation next week. Be here or be square. God bless you.
Bye-bye.